Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is Yanti and welcome back to Halology. This time we'll continue our tour at Greenish and Greenish Park.
Before we begin our journey, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't and help me to reach 1000 subscribers guys. Okay, now let's begin our adventure.
Okay, so from the Greenish station, I'm walking toward the Greenish market. I passed through Clock Tower Market. I think they sell antiques and pre-love items.
Unfortunately, post-pandemic, the Clock Tower Market has been permanently closed down. Next, I passed by the Greenish Vintage Market. The market is open every Friday to Sunday and here you can shop for a diverse mixture of antiques, collectible, retro, arts, craft and handmade items as well as food and drinks. Then, I continue my journey and walk into a small lane that leads into an indoor market which is the Greenish Market. The market opens every day and here you can shop for arts, craft, antiques, collectibles, seasonal produce as well as a variety of food.
In the market, we can find Scotch egg, which is a traditional British food. Scotch egg is made of boiled egg wrapped with sausage meat, breadcrumb, and it is either deep fried or oven baked. Here, there are a variety of Scotch eggs, such as the one made of sausage, chicken and ham, chorizo, or smoked haddock, but unfortunately, I cannot buy them because they are all non-halal. There are also festivals held in the market all year round, so make sure you guys check their event calendar before you come here. Within 5 minutes walk from Greenish Market lies Greenish Park, which is the largest green area in the southeast of London and it is one of the London Royal Park. The park is famous for the Royal Observatory and the Prime Meridian. The park is a great place to enjoy the nature and there are many attractions inside it, such as the Rose Garden, the Herb Garden, Cherry Blossom, the Flower Garden, as well as the Wilderness Deer Park. However, since we came in the autumn, we cannot see those beautiful blooms right now. But if you want to see the cherry blossom, do come over in the late March to the mid-April. And for roses and tulip, you can visit in June and July.
Alright, so I have reached the Greenish Park. There at the back side is the National Maritime Museum and I'm trying to look for the Meridian line. I'm gonna update you later.
Basically, I have to walk uphill to reach to the Royal Observatory.
Okay, I'm actually at the top of Greenish Park. So here we can take a view of London City. You can see the tallest building chart and up until the O2.
On top of the hill, we can enjoy the panoramic view of London and right in front of us is the National Maritime Museum and the Queen's House. And if you can see on our right side, there's a building with the white canopy and yellow pillars. That's the O2 which I had visited on my first day in London. By the way, the entrance to the National Museum and the Queen's House is free. So if you have a spare time, you can visit them. Inside the museum, you can see the actual uniform worn by Admiral Nelson, who was fatally wounded during the Battle of Trafalgar. And inside the Queen's House, you can see the Armada portrait of Elizabeth I. On top of of the hill lies the Royal Observatory, which played a major role in the history of astronomy and navigation. It is the home for the prime meridian, or also known as the Greenwich meridian or longitude 0 degree, which is the reference point for every time zone in the world. The meridian line divides the world into two hemispheres, which is the east and the west, and when the sun is at the highest point exactly above the meridian line, that means it is 12 o'clock in the afternoon at Greenwich. Since the meridian line passes through Greenwich, so that's why it is called Greenwich Mean Time, the GMT, which is the precursor of today's UTC, the Coordinated Universal Time. You will need to buy the ticket to the Royal Observatory to go to the prime meridian. The ticket costs £8 for the adult and £4 for a child. However, if you don't want to spend your money, you can walk around the hillside or the Flamsteed House. And over there's also a meridian line, so make sure you stand in between the line that divides the east and west hemisphere. At the top of the Flamsteed House is the time ball, which was created back in 1833. Back then, it was used to send a time signal to the ships that passes through the Thames and to the Londoners. So every day at 12:55 p.m, the ball will rises halfway up to its mast, and then at 5:58 p.m, it will raise all the way up to the top. And then exactly at 1 o'clock, the ball will fall. So this will give a time signal to whoever happen to be looking at it. So if you happen to be here in the afternoon, don't miss out to watch the ball drop. Inside the Royal Observatory, you can find the Great Equatorial Telescope, which was installed back in 1893, and it is one of the largest telescopes in the world. Next, I continue my journey to explore the park, and I walk into Flower Garden area. The area is a gated section in which dogs, bicycles, skateboard, rollerblade, ball games, barbecue are all prohibited. In the spring and summer, the flower garden is filled with seasonal flower bed and tulips, but since we came in autumn, so we'll just enjoy the autumn scenery. Inside this park, there are around 70 species of birds has been sighted all year round. So if you have a spare bread, do bring it over and feed them to the birds. Inside the flower garden, there's a lake and there's a deer park trail, which is the best viewing spot for the wilderness. The Wilderness Deer Park is a home to the red and fallow deer, which live in their natural habitat. But unfortunately, during my visit, I couldn't see any of them.
While I'm in the park, I'm going to perform my prayer here and then head back to the O2, take the cable car and go back home. Okay, in the Greenwich Park, there's a section flower garden where dogs are not allowed here. So I am pretty confident that I will not encounter dog when I'm praying. So I choose one of the tree which has a very low branch to the ground, so nobody can see me from far. And there are plenty of squirrel here because there are a lot of chestnut. If you can see the moving object there.
In 1660s, Charles II has commissioned André Lenoir to design a formal French-style layout for the Greenwich Park. Lenoir is a French landscape architect and a principal gardener to Louis XIV, who has designed gardens of the Palace of Versailles in France. So you guys can check out our tour video inside the gardens of the Versailles Palace if you haven't seen them. Today, much of it remains are the impressive avenues of sweet Spanish chestnut. Many of the trees are ancient trees, which include the sweet chestnut tree, which are more than 400 years old. There are also many mature and veteran tree species that can be found inside the Greenwich Park.
In this area, there are a lot of chestnut. They call it horse chestnut and sweet chestnut, and there are people coming here to collect the chestnut. Aside from acorn, which is the natural food for the squirrels and the deer. So it's a good place to find chestnut here. Just to show you the chestnut. This is the chestnut, but it's not too big compared to the one that we found in the Jardin des Tuileries in Paris.
In my previous video at Jardin des Tuileries in Paris, I've collected chestnut, and apparently it tastes bitter and inedible because it was horse chestnut. In terms of the size, the horse chestnut is slightly bigger and rounder, and the shell is spiky, but when we compare to the sweet chestnut that I found in the Greenwich Park, the chestnut has a tail and its shell has more hairs and fine hairs, so that's how we can tell them apart between the horse chestnut and sweet chestnut. So Greenwich Park is definitely a fun place to spend any weekend with your kids, so do bring over your bucket and tongs to collect the sweet chestnut. I have finished touring the park, so I'll take the exit nearby the Maze Hill.
I just want to explain a bit about why do I choose prayer place that is far from dark. So actually in Islam we have in our fiqh about najis. Najis is actually unclean or impurity, and there are like 3 levels of impurity. In Arabic they call it muhaffafa, mutawassitah and mughallaza, which means muhaffafa is the lightest type of impurity, mutawassitah is the medium one, and mughallaza is the, how do I say it, the heaviest type of the impurity. So because in the najis mughallaza is any kind of excrement from dog or swine, so such as their feces, their urine, their saliva. So I have to avoid that. If I want to perform prayer, I need to clean myself from all kind of impurities. So that's why I choose a place which is far from dog, and I have to look for grounds which are clean, and I have to put my praying mat just to avoid any kind of dog feces on the ground. So that's why. So basically it's not that I'm scared of dog, I'm not. It's just that if I come into contact with dog, I have to clean myself, the body part which have been contacted with the dog excrement 7 times. I have to wash myself 7 times. 6 of them is by water, and 1 of them is with soil or clay mixed of water. So that's a way to clean, because in Islam cleanliness is part of the religion, so we even have to purify ourselves before we perform the prayer using the methods taught by Nabi, which is taking the ablution. We have to clean ourselves. There's like mandatory parts of body like face, our hands, our here, the head area where your hair start to grow, and your feet. That is the mandatory one, and there are more parts you can do to clean yourself. There's like a hadith saying that an-nazafatu min al-iman, so cleanliness is part of the faith of a believer. So right now I am going to the O2. I'm gonna continue shopping there, because yesterday I shared some photos to my friends if they wanna buy anything over there, because there's an outlet over there. So after that I'm gonna take cable car to go back home. No, I'm not afraid of that.
By the way, my second attempt to go into Emirates Airline failed because I spent too much time doing personal shopping and I have to rush back home to perform Asar prayer. In my next video, I'll be meeting my friend who came from Malaysia to Paris, and then she'll be driving from Paris to London to meet me and pass my new handphone. Yay, finally I'll be getting a new phone after living 3 weeks without it. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button to see my next video. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave your comments down below. Thanks for watching and Assalamualaikum.